Prepare yourself for Star Wars, Shadows of the Empire. The cruel crime lord Shizor directs the carbonite capture of Han Solo and his imprisonment aboard bounty hunter Boba Fett's battle-ready Slave One. Now, Luke Skywalker goes undercover with Soldier of Fortune Dash Rendar as he rips through space in his battle-transforming Outrider. But can they stop Slave One in time? It's the ultimate ships for the ultimate battle. Dare to enter the shadows. Star Wars, Shadows of the Empire. Because in vehicles each sold separately from...
Hey guys, and welcome to week 4 of Daily Star Wars Collecting with today's host, me, Matt. Star Wars NZ Reviews. That's me. Anyway, this week's topic is Power of the Force 2, which I grew up with, funnily enough. So I wasn't around when the first videos were released. I probably saw them about age 6, so about 1991. That was on VHS, and well, it might have been on TV that I recorded on a VHS because I remember there being ads in it, so, or commercials. So yeah, and the commercial you saw just before was one of the ones that was on TV when I was a kid. So yeah, I've got a couple of figures here. We're going to do a bit of comparison, but first I just want to have a wee talk about Power of the Force. Underrated line. You look back at it now and you go, oh, those bodybuilding Hulk Luke Skywalker and things like that, but that Luke Skywalker was my very first Star Wars figure. So I look back and go, oh, that wasn't a very good figure. But without the past, we wouldn't have the future, if that makes any sense. Just like without the Beatles, we wouldn't have rock, heavy metal rock music. Without Black Sabbath, we wouldn't have heavy metal. So, without the past, we don't have the future. So without the vintage toys, we wouldn't have had the Power of the Force line. Without the Power of the Force line and its success over the last 15 years, we wouldn't have had the vintage collection. We wouldn't have had Saga Legends, Legacy Collection, every single line of figures that came out. That has kept the Star Wars franchise alive, and it has kept George Lucas's pockets lined with gold. Quite literally, I think that man wears gold pants. He could afford it. So, without any further delays, I'm probably going to show you a couple of Shadows of the Empire figures first. This is what I do have left over from my childhood collection. It's not many. A lot of my figures did get stolen. I think I've mentioned that before. So this is what I've managed to keep. It's not a lot. So you got Prince Shizor. So it's not a very good figure, but it's got good detail, and he has a removable plastic. So it's sort of like chainmail or plate mail robe. And he came in a comic. This one, well, that had the Electro Staff came in a comic 2-pack with Darth Vader. I no longer have the comic 2-pack, or the comic, sorry, or the card or anything, but you notice this Darth Vader's legs are in an action pose, which is real common for the 90s. So they only stand up one particular way, which is fighting, funnily enough. So yeah, I'm not going to complain. This Darth Vader and this, these were my toys when I was younger. I didn't have a lot. I had Star Wars and Batman, and that was it. They were the two biggest things around in those days. Going to have a look at Power of the Force Obi-Wan Kenobi. Now, he didn't come with this cloak. This cloak here actually came out of, if you might remember, when Episode 1 came out, they had accessory packs. Naboo accessory pack, underwater accessory pack, Sith accessory pack, yada yada yada, so on and so forth. And this one came out of probably the Tatooine accessory pack. No, I can't remember. It came out of an accessory pack anyway, and this is probably one of the best cloaks, even by today's standards, ever produced. And I'm not being generous. I mean, the hood fits on the figure properly. I don't know, it's designed for this Obi-Wan, I felt. because I lost his cloak, so, you know, put him in this one. It's really good. It's lasted, you know, probably 16 years or something like that since I've had this figure. A long time. So that's Obi-Wan anyway, and we'll do a side-by-side comparison with one of today's Obi-Wan Kenobis. This is the most modern one, Legacy Collection. I got them in the DVD Blu-ray 4-pack. As you can see, there's been a huge improvement. But still, this cloak's better. Don't know why. It's not his original cloak, but never mind. He also has his legs in the funny action pose. Yeah, they only stand up one way. Then we're going to have a look at a vehicle. Now this was the first toy I ever bought with my own money, and I'm so glad that I managed to keep it. All through my flatting years, through everything, I've managed to keep this one toy, and this has been my favourite thing pretty much since I was 10 years old. I bought this with my very own money. It was $50, and I saved up, and I saved up, and I saved up. I think it's even still got the original batteries in it. Anyway, it's Red 5. It's pretty beat up now, it's pretty knackered, but really cool. Now these vehicles, when released, actually came out with the blueprints of the vehicle, which I found really quite interesting, and I used to have them up on my wall, and oh, that's the proton torpedo launcher, and that's the blah blah blah, and that's the astromech droid, and this nose cone's got sensors in it and things like that, and oh, I know everything about it, T-65 X-Wing, blah blah blah. So, awesome vehicle. We'll run over a few of the features in the 90s, big on sound effects in the 90s, weren't they? And it was cheap, you know, cheap. They put sound effects in something now and they charge you hundreds of bucks for it. I don't understand. So this one, you push down on R2's head, it's not removable. Here's the buttons. Batteries are dying. Speaker there. Button on the bottom side, fires the lasers. I've never had a Darth Vader TIE Fighter, so I used to use a little G.I. Joe pod, and it would go woo, and fly after him down the hallway in my house. And yeah, wings clip back, landing gear. Very, very, very cool toy for the 90s. My pride and joy of my collection, really. You know, it's the most sentimental piece I have. Probably not worth a lot of money, but sentimental value, like I talked about last week. Then inside we have the Power of the Force 2 Luke Skywalker and Pilot. Now you guys must remember, in the 90s there was Batman. He was huge. Batman animated series. All about the big chest, the big chin, Batman. And we're coming straight off, I'm talking Thundercats. And that Space Ranger guy with the robot horse, and Voltron. What else? Oh, Transformers were big. Transformers were real big. And He-Man, Masters of the Universe. That was huge over here. And all these characters were big bodybuilders. We got big muscles and really men. And I think, you know, what they felt they had to do was, you know, buff all their guys up, and so they're big bodybuilder guys, because that was the fashion of the 90s. I don't mind. People make fun, but it's the 90s, man. The 90s were awesome. If you weren't alive for the 90s, I feel sorry for you, because they were awesome. And we're just going to do a side-by-side comparison to this year's or last year's Luke Skywalker and Pilot gear, which is that one. As you can see, automatically off the bat, the new one is slightly taller. Go back to that. Helmet's a lot bigger, head's a lot bigger, facial sculpt is a lot more detailed, the helmet is removable, this one's got no glasses, things like that, you know. But still, the detail on this guy for the 90s is amazing, you know. Hoses there, and breathing apparatus, and straps on his back and things. I mean, I bought this guy to go in my X-Wing specifically, and I'm pretty sure the X-Wing ate his lightsaber. I used to put it down here in the cockpit, and I haven't seen it since. So it was about 16 years ago. So it's either eaten it or it fell out along its travels. Anyway, it's taken up enough of your guys' time. Thanks for listening to me ramble on about Power of the Force. It was a great line. End of the day, I loved it. It paved the way for the figures we have today. If it wasn't for Power of the Force 2, we wouldn't have a lot of figures. I don't think they'll ever be as valuable as the vintage figures. To some collectors maybe, but you know, they sold probably originally for about $14.99, I'd say, over here, and I can buy them off Trade Me, which is our auction site, probably for $9, $8, $7, stuff like that. And so they haven't increased in value since the 90s because they were so mass produced and so common. Everyone went out and bought, I'm going to buy thousands of these collector's items. So everyone's got 1,000. They're not worth anything. It's like vintage figures. Only a few people have the whole lot carded. That's worth money. That's worth a lot of money. So, you know, end of the day, moral of the story is same as last week. Value is what you make it yourself, what you're willing to pay for it. Thanks for listening to me ramble on. Don't forget to check out my channel, Star Wars NZ Reviews. And, yeah. Oh yeah, Palpatine. I like Palpatine. He's good. No. You will die.